Hello everyone, Dino Don here again with the latest update on my W.A.R. Corsair project. As you can see, I was able to get the aircraft rolled back over on its wheels. That happened yesterday, Saturday. I got lucky. There was a neighbor guy had a couple friends over visiting, and the other neighbor kid was available, so we had like 5 or 6 guys here and a couple women, so it was able to rotate without a hitch. The wife and I pulled the wings off and set them aside before we got the neighbors to come over and help. So what you can see I've done here is I've went ahead and just set the fuel tank in place. Get an idea of how well it's fitting. It's not bad. It's going to need a little work to get it in there good and square. I took and made one little hanger just so I could get the cowling set in place. So this is the first time it's ever been seen with the cowling on. And then I had a piece of Lexan polycarbonate sheet that came off of my CGS Hawk Aero 2 when I recovered the aircraft. I installed a new windshield, and that's the old smoke gray window that came off of the plane. Down there is the rest of it. I cut it out, and surprisingly this stuff is about 1/8 of an inch thick, and I was able to chop it up just with a set of sheet metal shears. Cuts real easy. But that's basically the general shape of the windshield. Now, I originally was planning on making the whole canopy windshield as a plexiglass mold, but thinking about it, this windshield needs to be installed now because I have to fiberglass this in. This has to be completely sealed with fiberglass all up around here. It gets filled in, it'll get screwed, drilled, and then there'll be some fiberglass on here to make a mask of like a framing. But it has to be glassed in, and in order for me to finish filling and sealing this whole airplane with the microballoon slurry mix, that windshield has to be there. And the nice thing with the polycarbonate is that the stuff is extremely flexible. And you can bend this stuff completely around and it will not break. You can kink it, but it won't break. And it's basically what bulletproof glass is made from. So it's not a typical material used for windshields, but in this case it's easily formed. I don't have to heat it. It contours around there really easy and forms well. It's in a basic trim status. It still needs a little different trimming here. The other side actually turned out better than this side, so I'll use the other half as the whole pattern. But I'm going to just buy a sheet of clear, put that on. That's got to go on first, and then I got to fit the tank, get that fitted. The cowling is on just with one hanger in its basic location, and then I'll start filling. But you can see the little bit of a gap there at the top. After I get the rest of it in place and fitted correctly, this is round, this isn't. So it's a little wider here than the cowling, but the cowling is round. So, and then the bottom, but that'll allow for some airflow to come out when you're flying. So that's where the exhaust will come out as well. So I left the tail up in the sling just to keep the aircraft level so I could work on the front of it. And then the gear doors, I need to hook up the mechanisms, the turnbuckles for that. And then it's a matter of just microballoon slurry mixing and sanding out and then doing the epoxy wipe. This is where the landing gear linkage down inside, you know, part of that linkage right here, when it retracts, pops up through here. And that's the way the plans show. And on the plans, they want you to cut this out, put a piece of inner tube from a tire on here with a little aluminum framework, popper it in, so when the landing gear comes up it'll poke through, and then when it's sitting on the ground it's flat. And the only problem is that black rubber is not going to take paint. It'll crack as soon as it stretches. But so give you an idea, back this up, there's the one wing panel. That's the right outboard wing panel, bottom side, and here's the left wing panel. Surprisingly, when you pick these things up, they're like 20 pounds, extremely light. So I got little fitment issues here with the tank, but overall it fits pretty good. The issue is if it rains, water getting in here, I got to build up a There's a small piece of wood I glued in there with some fiberglass that I got to work on. The idea is to get this so if it rains, water gets in here, it'll run down outside of the fuselage. The front, you know, there's literally nothing under the front side. So, and then up and through there will be the back side of the instrument panel. So that's where I'm at. Again, this weekend, for some reason, these past month, these weekends have been absolute terrible. See, right now we're at 80 degrees. You know, it's going on 7 p.m. 69% humidity, so the humidity's gone up. Last night, went down to the local fair, last day of the fair, and it was like 85 degrees and humid as heck. So it seems like every weekend has just been extremely humid. So I didn't get a whole lot done today other than playing with these 3 items right here. So I was happy that I got it rolled over, and now I'll leave it like this for a while, work on this. I can probably start doing the micro balloons on the fuselage, and then I'll put the wings back on. There is some work that has to be done in here. I got to, you know, kind of epoxy glass or something in here to stiffen this all up. I want to true up these edges here, make them a little straighter, have to build them back out a little, and then sand fit to get a good nice straight seam on the wings when they go back together. I removed all the door panels so they weren't in the way and we wouldn't damage them rolling it over. They're all just sitting on the bench over here for now. But I got all the mechanisms out because a lot of this hardware, like these guys here, I'm going to be putting in countersink screws because some of this linkage wants to interfere. And then these blocks that I have on for the rod that the gear will hit, I need to countersink those too. Turns out the tire was just barely touching on one side, so I need to countersink. And there's my prop hub, which, you know, when she's all said and done, you know, it's going to be out here. So, okay, well, that's going to be the short update for this week. Next week, I hope to get the windshield, get a fresh piece, get her cut out, get her screwed down and attached, and start laying some glass just around the base to tie it in. The glass has to go all the way around it to make a frame, a mock-up of a frame, and then start putting in and getting the gas tank fitted. The cowling can wait till a little later, but I have to get that windshield in first. So, all right, well, that's going to do it for this week. Appreciate everybody watching my videos. Feel free to leave any comments, questions, concerns. I'll answer them as they come through. All right, well, this will be Don and Don out for this week. Stay tuned for next week's.